Hello, mgrover.org. Due to a lack of guides on the forums, I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video guide on how to replace your fuel filter. It's a simple procedure, and I'm going to go through step by step as to what you need to do. So, let's start off. First of all, your fuel filter is located here on your Rover 200, 25s and ZRs. This is what we're going to be replacing. First thing to do in any case is to isolate the battery. So what we're going to do is we're going to crack off the negative terminal, which means I have to reset my stereo, but that's now the battery isolated. The last thing you want is for something electrical to cause any form of spark, especially when dealing with fuel. Another safety precaution to note as well is do not be smoking when doing this. You're dealing with petrol, it's volatile stuff. The next thing what we want to do is we want to remove the carbon filter out of the way. So the easiest thing that I've found, now I've already taken it off the bulkhead, this is just a simple lift procedure. If it's a little bit more difficult, what you want to do is you want to get something thin in there to pry it up. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the sensor to that, just to make it easier to move it completely out of the way, like that. As long as that's out of the way, you're fine. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a 17 and a 14mm open ring spanner, and we're going to simply crack the nuts off. Now I've already pre-cracked them, but what you want to do is you want to take your larger spanner here, and you want to hold the filter. The way in which the nuts go is the top nut goes towards the bulkhead to loosen it, and underneath the bottom nut, the 14, comes towards you, so away from the bulkhead. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these off. Now there's lots of people saying that when you take these off you need to open up the petrol cap, or you need to disconnect the fuel pump fuse and run the engine until it's dry. There's no need for that at all. What you want to do is while leaving the bottom nut closed, you want to slacken off the top one. A little bit of fuel will come out, so it's helpful to have some rags, but that will simply release the pressure. Once the pressure's been released, no fuel's going to come out, and if it does, it's only going to be a slight trickle, so it's not going to be anything major. So what we're going to do is we're going to now disconnect these. Believe you me, this was very, very difficult. Right, that's the top disconnected. And we'll now disconnect the bottom. This is where I'm expecting some fuel to come out, like that. This is why it's helpful to have some rags to hand. Right, now while that's draining slightly, I'm going to wipe my hands. Just get that excess fuel off. Leave that for a few seconds. Now, what you want to do is you want to get an 8mm spanner, or you want to get a quart drive socket wrench with an 8mm socket on it, which is what I have here. And there is an 8mm bolt there that we're just going to slacken off, and that will take the harness off the fuel filter. Now all we're going to do is we're going to slacken it off. We're not going to completely take this bolt out, because of the way it is, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get it back in. With the socket set, yeah, the chances are that the wrench is going to get stuck on a pipe. It's not too much of an issue. Now all you want to do is just completely remove the fuel lines from the filter. This may take a little bit to get them out, as they will go in quite far. Right, that's the bottom one taken out and the top one removed. With this you can simply move that out of the way. That's the line that goes into the manifold. So now what we should be able to do, if all has gone to plan, is remove the actual filter itself. And this car is 14 years old. That is a genuine Rover filter. So that was on there when the car was made. Now this is going to be full of fuel, so you want to move it out of the way very, very quickly. Get some rag and drain it. Just leave that somewhere safe for the moment to empty into your rag. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our replacement filter. Man filter. Make sure that you don't get any dirt or debris inside it. Now, there will be instructions for fitting this, and what it should be is you should have markings that either have a little arrow on them which tells you the direction, or in this case you've got in and you'll have out on the top. So what this needs to be installed like this, because your fuel is coming up and it comes into the fuel filter from the bottom and out at the top to the manifold. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these caps off the bottom. We're going to leave the cap on the top for now. We're going to slot this into place like that. If I can bring it around. What we're then going to do is we're going to get the fuel line back in, and it is simply the reversal of what we did before. Making sure that we get everything lined up. If the nuts start to pinch as they're going into the fuel filter, slacken them off, start again. The last thing you want to do is start rounding things off, especially when it comes to fueling systems, because it can be very, very expensive to get bits replaced, very time consuming if you don't know how to repair it yourself. Unfortunately, this is a bit of a tight squeeze if you have fat hands like me. If I can get my lovely assistant to pause the video, because there's nothing glamorous just here. Part 2, you didn't need to see all the tedious reassembly there, because it is simply just the same procedure as how you took it off. The only thing you need to make sure of is when you come to put it back on, make sure you hold the filter in place with your 17 while snipping up the 14mm. Otherwise, the filter will spin, and as you do at one end, it will undo the other, which you don't want to have happen. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to clean up what we've left behind. Then what we're going to do is we're going to, before we start jumping ahead, we're going to put the carbon filter back on, which simply slots onto the bulkhead. He says simply. There we go. Make sure as well to reconnect the sensor in there like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reconnect the battery. There we are. Now make sure all the tools are clear, which they do seem to be, and what we're going to do is we're ready to start priming. Right, now we've got the battery reconnected. What we're going to do is we're not going to try and start the car yet. What we're going to do, if I can get in, is we're going to flick the ignition on 3 times to get it to prime. Now on each time what we're going to do is we're going to pump the accelerator twice. So if I turn the ignition on, pump the accelerator and off, if you do that 3 times, it should prime the fuel filter. And on the 3rd one, we should be ready to start. Now, as you can see, the car has started. What we'll do is we'll just make sure there's no fuel pouring out everywhere, which there doesn't seem to be. And that's job done. Turn the car off. So there we go, Pete. Oh, we're ready? Fantastic. Amateur cameraman, what can you do? Right, okay, so there we go. I'm total novice, and that was a 5-minute job. Just make sure you've got the right tools, the right parts. Any of your local motor factors, Halfords, etc., will be able to advise you as to the correct filter as well. Like I say, just make sure that you take your time, you're careful with it. If it's proving too difficult to undo, ask a friend, someone who's knowledgeable, who can give you a hand with it. If not, and you're quite happy to get in there with the spanners, it's a 5-minute job. It's as easy as doing your oil change. Just make sure you follow the steps that I've shown you and you should be alright. Thanks very much guys for watching, and take care. I'm off for road test now. Bye.